Oh no, here he goes again. He's going to rant about Fukushima. Yeah, I am. So, I've been offline for a bit and just kind of catching up with the things. One thing, finding World War II, unexploded World War II ordnance on the Fukushima site. Man, I guess they didn't take metal detectors to the ground in a war zone before they built the nuclear power plants. Somebody really dropped the ball on that one, right, General Electric? But that's pretty standard fare for the safety practices of a corporation that hasn't paid its taxes in over a decade. You can complain about it all you want, but Department of Energy and General Electric are buddy-buddies, and if you're friends with the Department of Energy, you're friends with the Department of Defense, and the reason General Electric is such good friends with the Department of Defense is they produce plutonium for more nuclear weapons. This deterrent, symbolized and identified as MAD, mutually assured destruction by the RAND Corporation back in the 1960s, it never made much sense. We all saw the movie War Games with Matthew Broderick, and if you didn't, it's an old movie, it's kind of lame. Really impossible for it to happen like that, but again, the computer, this, I guess we call it artificial intelligence computer, was running all the missile silos. So it was playing out the scenarios with a young man who had hacked the system, thinking it was a real war. It wasn't just a war game. Sets off all these alerts across the nation and has the Air Force panicking. In reality, the artificial intelligence comes up to the conclusion it's like tic-tac-toe. The best way to win the game is not to play at all, because it always comes out a cat's game. You cannot win a nuclear war. So knowing this, we can take all the superpowers, Russia, China, England, India, Pakistan, well, maybe India, Pakistan, the United States, and it's fairly reasonable that one can assume we will never press the button for an all-out nuclear conflagration. It's just mind-boggling that that would even be a potential, because it would just destroy the human race. There would be no surviving it. Life would become impossible, save for the cockroach and maybe the swine. All hail cockroach and pig, yay. They would evolve into some kind of mutated species, perhaps to take the niche of humanity and make it to the apex of the food chain. We don't know. It would be interesting to watch, but we won't be here to see it, if that happens. The reason I'm telling you all this is you have to realize that there are people in government that do have the power to press the button or not press the button, and this is all the governments of the superpower. So are they either classically insane, sociopathic, psychotics that want to do this? I think not. They're more compelled by greed, personal power, and personal accountability is the last thing they want. And by pressing the button, they would be held accountable by the dying and the dead. They couldn't live with that. They're not soldiers, they're politicians. Not good. It's not really good with accountability. We've all seen it. It's always some excuse, some justification. And as I've always told you, I've never once in my life, reading everything I have about history, have ever seen justice be derived from a justification. It doesn't happen. Justice requires accountability. Avoidance of accountability is a justification, a rationalization. It's insane. It is reason without reason. So, either the buck stops here, or all of humanity is doomed to this nuclear enslavement. And and that's exactly what nuclear weapons are. You live in terror that some moron in office is going to press the button at some point. It is a control. It really isn't a threat. And we really don't need to build these weapons. Every time we make plutonium, we increase the potential of a terrorist getting a small portion of that plutonium. Even now with the Fukushima disaster, plutonium's littered all over the beaches and in the sea and in the air we breathe. And I know that given the time, it would probably take about 6 years. One could reasonably collect a decent quantity that could create a small tactical nuke. Possibly that there's someone out there already trying to do this. Not me. Not me. I have no interest in being part of the nuclear club, and nor am I a terrorist. The last thing I want to do is cause terror. I am sick to death of terror. I'm sick to death of people who promote terror. I'm sick to death of our own government and it promoting terror against its own people. Because that's what nuclear war is the threat of this ultimate violence that will keep you in check. It's not really so much for our enemies, it's so much for the government to maintain control on you. If you don't believe me, if you think it's all about national defense, you're sorely misguided. So, knowing this about nuclear weapons, knowing that the source of plutonium is fission reactors, that electricity is just a side byproduct, knowing that every commercial reactor that supposedly produces energy in this country, what are we at, 7% is produced by nuclear power in this country? Maybe more, maybe 17%, I always forget. The point I'm trying to make here is not one of those reactors turn a profit. They are subsidized by your tax dollars. Every one of them. They are making no money whatsoever. They are the biggest boondoggle in energy production history. You know, you cry, oh, we don't want coal, it's too dirty. Well, guess what? If you like electricity, you're stuck with coal, baby, because nuclear is not the answer. Nuclear cannot produce the volume. And nuclear has waste that will have to be seen to for 1 million years. You can't just bury it. There's aquifers you got to worry about. There's constant dynamics in the plate tectonics of our planet. You can't just bury it. Salt mines are no answer. We've seen what happens with a little bit of water breaks through a salt mine. It dissolves the whole cavern. It's gone. And so it's right, and that puts the isotopes right in the aquifer. And then you're drinking it. So, underground is not a solution. Shooting it into space is not a solution. Rockets blow up. Rockets crash. We don't have a perfect launch system. We've got a good one. NASA does a damn good job. But we're talking 1 in 20 are going to blow up. So you can't launch it in space. So, aside from we keep making new spots that are uncontaminated into contaminated spots by moving the waste there, I have a novel suggestion. Why don't we take the nuclear sites, where the power plants are right now, which can never be used for anything else for the next 400,000 to 500,000 years, and make those depositories of nuclear waste. We keep it on the surface, we erect some sort of a decent sarcophagus for it, and we hire teams to basically patrol and guard that stuff and keep it in a sarcophagi. The point I'm trying to make is that is the only viable solution, and we need to stop producing the nuclear waste. They keep saying, oh, well, we're using it for medical purposes. No, you're not. You're using a percent of a percent for medical purposes, and even then, most of it's non-viable medicine. It's experimental medicine on the very edge of big pharma. There is some nuclear medicine that does use some of the waste isotopes, but it's even a smaller and smaller percentage, and those isotopes can be produced without this massive waste production by industrial nuclear power plants. Fission is a dead end. And when I mean dead, I mean that in a literal and figurative term. We need to stop splitting atoms now. We have little time left, and even if we stop, it may already be too late. I can't make any promises anymore. We have gone too far at Fukushima. It is the figurative straw that is breaking the planet's back. I don't know why everyone still screams about climate change, and you never hear them say one word about Fukushima. It's like they have blinders on. Climate change, the oceans are going to rise. Well, the Pacific Ocean is contaminated, so who cares if it rises? You just made the world's largest nuclear waste dump, the Pacific Waste Dump. It is completely contaminated. We have verification from Ken Bessler at NOAA that cesium-134 and 137 are washing up on the shores of California's beaches. So you kids that surf that or swim it, or you guys running on the beaches and breathing in that early morning misting air, knowing you're adding days to your life, actually you're not. You're breathing in cancerous isotopes in that mist, because as the water evaporates, it carries these atomic particulates up into the mist, and you breathe it into your lungs. And barring Ken Bessler's glaring omission and saying only cesium is found, and that they cannot afford to test for plutonium, americium, polonium, strontium, and all the other wonderful deadly isotopes that go along with fission meltdowns. He's sort of giving us a denial. You see, cesium-137 and 134 have limited half-lives, and half-lives aren't even the whole picture. But we can say 134 is 7 years, and 137 is 36, 37 years. So that doesn't sound so bad. That's why he is admitting to that. When you look at the half-life of plutonium at 24,000 years, well, that tends to scare people, because 24,000 years means that one little particulate of plutonium can go into, a few thousand people's lungs and kill a few thousand people in that same particulate. And now you've got billions of them floating around the atmosphere. Now, you can say, well, what do you know about this? And we don't like your science. We don't like how you're explaining this. I'm not explaining it to be a physicist. I'm explaining it to the layman so they get it. That's the important part. I could care less if you've got an MIT physics degree. I'm pointing to you right now and saying, you know what I know, and you're lying to people. That makes you accountable. And I want you to remember that. I will hold everyone personally accountable that has the knowledge and has not yet come forth and admitted openly like I have. I'm not spewing hyperbole. What I'm doing is telling the people the truth, because I believe people deserve the choice, even if it's a dire or mortal choice. In this case, I don't see much hope for humanity. And people say, oh, you're such a doom and gloom guy, this isn't true. Well, that's fine, but time will bear out my words. It already has. I have a 98% rate of accuracy on this, and anyone who's been following me since the beginning will verify that for you. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a whining, panicky boy. I am somebody who is seriously contemptible about. I have so much contempt for the people in the industry lying to us right now. It's, well, that's why I'm out in the woods. I just can't take this anymore. I can't take all the attacks. I can't take all the lies. I can't take showing where they're lying, proving my point, and then being turned around saying, well, this and this and this, and you're not getting the numbers right. Guess what? My numbers are damn right. My math is good. This is bad. And I've been saying this since the beginning. And here we are 6 years in, and they can't stop it. At what point, after 6 years of 300 to 700 metric tons of contaminated water flowing in the Pacific Ocean, at what point does dilution stop being the solution? It never was the solution. You can't dilute radioactive isotopes. They remagnify they remagnify in biomagnification. Whatever smaller things eat, the bigger things eat, the bigger things eat, the bigger things eat, the bigger things eat, and it comes right up to us, the top apex of the food chain, and we eat it. And this isn't about exposure externally. This is about exposure internally. You eat it, you breathe it, you drink it. Once you do that, it stays with you, baby. Plutonium is a calcium mimicker. That's why all the starfish dissolved. This was seen in the Marshall Islands. The IEA covered up that report. They're just now claiming, oh, well, there is a screw up here. 1/3 of the planet is contaminated. I know shit. Took you long enough to finally say it. But do you hear the media saying anything about it? Not in America. Why? Well, General Electric has lots of shares in all the media. And General Electric built those reactors and leased them to TEPCO. The Mark I nuclear reactor is by far one of the most poorly designed nuclear reactors in the history of the nuclear industry. And General Electric knows this. At least 3 engineers quit General Electric back when they started producing this Mark I reactor by saying this is a flawed reactor. So, while I cannot indict the flaws directly of the reactor's engineering, I can indict General Electric directly because they keep trying to sell this and they want to sell it to the third world. We're looking at how Japan is dealing with their nuclear meltdown. Think about how South Africa would deal with this situation. Ethiopia, Sudan, how about Nigeria? These are all potential customers of General Electric. Are you getting the picture? Are you starting to? How smart is it to build a nuclear reactor in a potential war zone where civil wars are as frequent as seasons? Yet they want to build there because they can get money. They do not care about the outcome. And this should not only shock, but terrify you. I'm beyond being terrified. I'm just bloody pissed off. And I'll sign out with that. I think I've ranted and rambled on long enough. I will mention one thing. I am seeing increasing numbers of trees falling. Root systems are all matching what I saw in West Virginia. That's part of what this walk has to do with. I wanted to see. I've been out in the woods a long time, and yeah, trees fall all the time. I hear them, and I go out, a week here, a week there. And on average, I might hear one fall within a week's time. And that's either on the West Coast or even up in Utah. But as of lately, I've been hearing 1 to 2 a day. I've been out in the wilderness daily. I either hear it or see it. And checking the root systems, same pattern where all the smaller roots are gone. There's a huge tap roots, but they seem stunted. Why is that? Could have something to do with the radioactive rain that's been falling down on the planet for the last, or on the northern hemisphere for the last 6 years. That's what I believe. But aside from getting anyone involved in the forestry department, which I do have some contacts that are looking at some of the evidence I'm finding, I have an entomologist, an aquatic entomologist, looking into preserving some bugs and checking them for radioisotopes because he has noticed mutations. There are some people getting involved, some academics, and it's a little too late, but I would like the truth to be known. I would love to hold those responsible to account. I think it's a moral imperative that humanity do this. If we have nothing else to bond us, it is our humanity. If there is no reason other than our passion to live, then we must fight to live. No matter the peril, no matter the limits, no matter the impossibility of it. It is at that last second that true greatness, true heroes are born. And it is at that last second that you either live or die. How much do you want to live? Like I say, I don't have a solution. But I do know if we don't admit there's a problem, there will never be a solution. Thanks for listening. Hope you all are having a good time. I am going to be going back into the wilderness for an extended period. I don't know how long. But I will try to get back with you as soon as possible. I probably will be online for another 10 to 15 hours at least before I sit back to my little primitive world of no power, no signal, no internet, no phone. Total peace. Anyway, talk to you later.